Thank you very much. I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country. Second of all, we have another trial going on right now. That's Letitia James. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump. I'm going to get Trump. And it has to do with a bond of $175 million. First of all, she doesn't want me to participate with financial companies in New York. So we have a company, I guess, based in California. It's a bonding company. And I put up $175 million in cash. But she says the bonding company's not good. She doesn't like the bonding company because she doesn't know if the collateral is good. And I put up $175 million in cash, and she's questioning the bonding company. Well, when you put up cash, and the number is 175, which is what we're supposed to be putting up, but I give it in cash, she shouldn't be complaining about the bonding company. The bonding company would be good for it because I put up the money. And I have plenty of money to put up, but nobody is going to be putting up with this. Nobody is going to be listening or coming to New York anymore. Businesses are going to be fleeing because people are treated so badly. It's got to be the most unfriendly place to do business, and that's why businesses are leaving and people are leaving as migrants come in and take over our parks and our schools and everything else. So on the Letitia James case, she's the worst attorney general in the country, by the way. On Letitia, and she keeps a lot of business out of New York, and businesses that are here are leaving. And that means jobs and a lot of revenue. Somebody's going to step in. The governor, somebody has to step in and do something because your businesses are fleeing. But on Letitia James, the money was put up. It's $175 million. And I don't think she's complaining about me for the first time ever. She's complaining about the company. But why would she be doing that when I put up the money? So I just want you to know that that's taking place in front of an extremely crazed judge, who's the most overturned judge in New York State. He was overturned 4 or 5 times on that case alone. That's, you know who it is. I don't have to mention names. I want to be nice. I want to be very nice. But a thing like that, and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
That was President Trump on today, the opening statement of the criminal trial that we're seeing take place, the sham trial in New York. And joining me now to break this all down and what's happening in our country, especially from the Lawfare perspective, Mike Davis, founder and president of Article 3 Project. Mike, it is great to see you. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in. So President Trump is saying that it's election interference, that he should be out there campaigning. This is being coordinated out of Washington. What's your take on what we can see happening with these opening statements in the court this week?
It's very obvious that this is Democrat lawfare and election interference run by Biden Democrats, and President Biden has his fingerprints on all 4 of these unprecedented criminal indictments against a former president who happens to be the leading presidential candidate. It was President Biden who had his deputy White House counsel, Jonathan Su, waive President Trump's claim of executive privilege, which led to the unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful raid on President Trump for presidential records he's allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. That led to 2 of Jack Smith's indictments, the January 6th indictment and the Presidential Records Act indictment. You have this Matthew Colangelo in this New York trial, the first criminal trial ever of a former president. You have Matthew Colangelo getting deployed from the Biden Justice Department, the number 3 in the Biden Justice Department, to bring this first criminal indictment. This is after the prior Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself, this Soros-funded Manhattan DA, passed over this criminal prosecution. And then Matthew Colangelo got deployed to New York to bring this trial. He made the opening statement today. So the Democrats, so Biden and the Democrats are not even attempting to hide that this is Democrat lawfare and election interference. And then down in Georgia, you have Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. She has her boyfriend meeting with the Biden White House, billing his time with the Biden White House, 2 meetings, 16 hours before she brought the indictment. So Biden's fingerprints are on all 4 of these indictments.
So what happens next? So we're going to see these, obviously, these opening statements. The prosecutors are going to try to make their argument that this hush money payment was an intentional effort by President Trump to try to interfere with the 2016 election. I mean, talk about a novel legal argument. I mean, have we ever seen anything like this before?
This is complete nonsense. This is a businessman settling a nuisance claim, and he's done that many, many, many times over his decades-long career in real estate. This is nothing new here, and at best, what these are time-barred misdemeanor bookkeeping misdemeanors. That I don't even think they're bookkeeping misdemeanors, but that's what they are at best. And you have Matthew Colangelo going from the Biden Justice Department, and they come up with this convoluted bookkeeping theory that how President Trump booked these legal expenses in his books in 2017 somehow interfered in the presidential election in 2016. This is their weakest case by the Democrats. They're desperate. They're doing everything they can to keep Trump in a courtroom instead of on the campaign trail, and then to put him in prison for the rest of his life because they fear American voters on November 5th, 2024.
We've also seen how the judge, I think, has really aggressively and I think disrespectfully treated President Trump throughout this process, making him seem like he's a criminal. I mean, have you seen such judges in the past behave like this in a courtroom?
No, and this judge is clearly biased under New York statute, and he clearly should recuse. Even a former Clinton federal judge from New York City came out on CNN on Caitlin Collins' show on April 5th and said that. And of course, this judge is not going to recuse. Judge Merchan's adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, has raised nearly $100 million off of her father's unprecedented criminal prosecution of President Trump. This Judge Merchan donated to Biden in 2020. He donated to another anti-Trump cause. He is clearly biased, actually biased. He also has the appearance of bias. This is reversible error, but he doesn't care. Their whole goal is to get a criminal conviction by November 5th, 2024, and they don't care if this gets reversed on appeal. That's exactly what Jack Smith did with former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. They took him out in 2016, won a conviction. He was reversed unanimously, 8-0. It was 9-0, but Justice Scalia passed away. This is part of the Democrats' pattern. They fear voters, and so they're waging lawfare and election interference.
So if you were President Trump's lawyer, what would be the legal advice to basically get through this particular case?
You know, normally when you're dealing with a criminal defendant, you want the criminal defendant just to keep his mouth shut. That should not be the case here. President Trump understands correctly that this is lawfare and election interference. These Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat judges and these Democrat juries and these Democrat hellholes are trying to decide the next presidential election instead of the American people. These judges have illegally, unconstitutionally placed a gag order on a criminal defendant, which is un-American. If there's anyone who must have the constitutional rights under the First, Sixth, and 14th Amendments to speak out against the judge, against the prosecutor, against their staffs, against the witnesses, against the process, it is a criminal defendant. And that is magnified by the fact that he is a presidential candidate, the leading presidential candidate. And these Democrat prosecutors and judges want him stuck in a courtroom and illegally gagged instead of being on the campaign trail.
Illegally gagged and obviously paying an enormous amount of fine. Is there a possibility that the president can serve jail time because of this case?
I dare these Democrats to try to put President Trump in jail, because they will turn him into Nelson Mandela. If you want to see a landslide on November 5th, 2024, have this radical goofball Judge Merchan and Alvin Bragg, this Soros-funded DA, and Matthew Colangelo, this former top political operative in the Biden Justice Department. I dare them to put Trump in jail.
So we also are seeing that the Supreme Court is going to decide whether Trump is immune from federal prosecution. That the Supreme Court is hearing arguments this week. What can you expect for that? I know President Trump cannot attend the Supreme Court session, but what do you expect can happen there?
Yeah, didn't I see that they went out of court today early because a juror had a dentist appointment, but the president of the United States can't go to the Supreme Court for one of the most important cases in the Supreme Court's history, and that is whether presidents of the United States, any president, is immune from criminal prosecution for his official acts, not his personal acts. Judges are immune for their official acts. Members of Congress are immune for their official acts. Why the hell would the president of the United States not be immune from criminal prosecution for his official acts? And if the Democrats want to go down this path, they're going to destroy the presidency and therefore destroy our country, because President Trump is going to get back into the White House on January 20th of 2025. And does President Barack Obama, who ordered a drone strike, an extrajudicial drone strike on 2 American citizens, including a minor, along with now Judge David Barron, Obama's legal advisor at the time, do they want to face capital murder charges for that drone strike? Does President Biden want to face charges for the natural and probable crimes that have occurred from his mass release of illegal immigrants into our country?
Right.
Where does this end?
I want to show some video on the recent pro-Hamas sympathizer rally, what I would say is more of a violent protest in Columbia University, and get your reaction to that.
Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch. Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch.